been finished is including health and safety protocols. In our proposals, we set criteria so that our health standards are science-based, they're phased-in approach, and they're inclusive, but not swayed by any political will. Outlining the right PPE gear and being able to provide an order of the way that we keep safe when we're working really means that we get to, as educators, support our families in what they need and what we need to be safe as we get back into instruction and school. This requires transparency on what the process is when someone gets sick or how we quarantine and the information we need to keep all of our families safe. And we know that that means providing clear protocols if something happens. And we are committed to making sure that that doesn't only hold, those protocols are not only held in the hands of educators, but that students and families have that same understanding so that we are all supporting each other through this pandemic and this unprecedented time. So I want us to start with the right-centered voice. And I'm going to welcome in a conversation I had with two amazing students, Jerusalem Huerta, I might be pronouncing that incorrectly, and so my apologies in advance, and Krista Chan, who are both students at Nathan Hale High School. They are student leaders. They are just two voices of the thousands of students we support. But I really do believe that as educators, their voices are essential to this conversation. And so I welcome them in right now.
Why do you think it's so important for Seattle Public Schools and SEA educators to have a plan for starting school?
I think it's important because I know other students and parents that are already stressing about how they don't know where their kids are going or how they're getting their food next, just things like that.
A lot of students and families are confused, like we don't know what's happening. And then you hear stuff on the news, like I remember hearing that like SPS is maybe deciding to do outdoor learning, but then like I'm thinking like it's Seattle, it's gonna rain, so it's just very confusing.
Are there things you hope we do differently in this school year?
Acknowledging that everyone's in a different place in this time, like, you know, 2020, it was a very hard time for many others in different ways and forms for everybody. And I just think that like, especially educators and students, like we just need to watch each other's backs, and it's all about community and building trust with each other. It's not about like, you know, teachers versus students or adults versus youth. It's all, we're all going through this motion together.
Probably just, like I said, just the meetings, talking more about race and equity, because now that we're going to be home, it'll be, I don't want to say easier, but it's going to be like we'll have more time to talk about things that we don't talk about in school. We don't have sports, so we'll be home. I mean, we're not going anywhere, but.
What is important for you right now?
Well, as a junior now, I think I just like to focus on my college, like what I'm doing next, how I can help my school, like further as in race and equity clubs, academically, sport-wise, just leading more people, getting more people's voices heard, especially being in BSU, getting more people involved. Just, yeah, I think that's really important to have student voice at our school and just SBS in general.
Students every time when I talk to like my friends, we're just all so confused because we don't know what's happening. Like I know we have a schedule, but that's only for the fall. And it's just so hard because again, like sports, students are losing sports, and that can be a really huge part for some students' lives. Yeah, we're kind of scared. We don't know what's happening, how it's gonna look like. We don't know how much homework. We don't know if it's pass or fail. We don't know, like sports wise. It's just very a questionable time.
Yeah.
What do you think is important for educators to remember?
Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for checking in. Thank you for having conversations not about just school, about family life, about like money, things like that in the future that aren't related to school at all.
I just hope that educators are now like finally like I hope that they give students empathy too, because I feel like, you know, no one has really gone through a time like this. I don't think there was a time for like when our teachers went through online learning. Like this is new for everyone. So I just hope that with this new school year coming that my teachers will be more patient with students, because you know homework is hard doing it at home because you're at home 24/7, and just, you know, learning is hard. Learning online is not for everybody. So I just hope that, yeah, teachers be more patient, and it's just I really hope that we has more of a sense of community going through, like, hey, we're going through a hard time, but we're going through it together. If that makes sense.
Why do you think it's so important?
Hello, my name is Liz Cortez. I'm a parent of a senior at Garfield High and also the Latinx parent leader of the group. The concern is that school will start in 2 weeks and we're not ready. Not everyone's on the same page. There's no clear communication uh, between the district, teachers, students, and parents. There's so many unknown factors, and we are failing our students. The students furthest from educational justice are still or even further away. Um, I think we all need to come together on all platforms to collaborate and provide the education that the students deserve without risking the health and wellness of teachers and students. And I know it can happen, and it needs to happen quick. Thank you very much.
So appreciate being able to center parent voice and student voice in this conversation as we get started towards finding out the updates from the bargaining table. I would like to introduce Kirsten Harris-Talley, a parent in our system and an amazing leader in our community. We want to welcome you. Thank you so much for being here and for bringing your
Hello,
voice
my
to
name
this
is
conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for bringing this together, UT and SEA. I am a proud parent of 2 children in Seattle Public Schools. Our oldest will be starting 4th grade this fall, and our youngest will be starting kindergarten. And as many parents have, we have been watching closely the considerations on what a plan will look like for our children and our family, as well as our neighbors, and also all of the teachers, administrators, and others who support our families in Seattle Public Schools. I feel very blessed. We are at Hawthorne Elementary, which is a school with strong leadership of Black femmes and Black women who've been in this work for decades, and many elders in that work. And we also are a school that's truly diverse and really represents the breadth of diversity of our communities here in Southeast Seattle. And one of the biggest considerations for our family when we first got the survey from Seattle Public Schools about what a plan would look like and whether our family would be doing all remote schooling or opt for 2 days in school, in classroom, for our children to be with their friends was, is there a plan for safety for everyone who takes such good care of our children and our families? And it has been sobering to see, despite so much work that has happened and good work, that we have not seen a solid plan that makes sure that everyone who does the good work in our public schools has the equipment and safety they need. So I want to say that our family stands with you and what your needs are. And I know that what this is going to require is support from every one of our families and everyone in our communities. Whether you have a child in public school right now or not, we have shown now how important our schools are for every community member. Some of the frontline food programs, some of the frontline resources through the summer have been coming from our public schools. So I stand in solidarity. I look forward to you getting what you need to know that you have safety as the caregivers of this institution and our children. And thank you all for the work you're doing, and hope that others will join in supporting this work. Thank you.
I'm sorry, that didn't work very well as a muted host. I will do that introduction again. Nicole Grant, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Nicole is the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the MLK Labor Council. Welcome, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you to all the union siblings that are paying attention to this right now, and to all the students and families that are paying attention. The Labor Council, MLK Labor, represents over 100,000 union members in King County, and so many workers are parents or are families of a student in Seattle schools. And we're asking ourselves really hard questions right now as families. There is a lot of pressure on us right now to do a good job for our kids and to do a good job for our families. And we're asking ourselves who our allies are. Who do we trust? And resoundingly, without a doubt, our best ally is the Seattle Education Association. As a parent, that is who I trust. Seattle Education Association educators are in the schools and in the classroom. Or better, they're from the school and from the classroom. This year, we don't need to be there. We need to be safe and stop this pandemic. I want to say that every union member in King County is paying attention to your bargain and is rooting for you. And we're also paying attention to what happens to all other workers at SPS. I want to know what's going to happen to bus drivers, at First Student, and classified staff that are in the building. This is a time for creativity, and it is a time for Seattle Public Schools to listen to educators and their union, and let the people who have to take care of it in real life, for whom it is their career, their obligation, their problem, let our educators be the ones who make choices about how we can serve families and students, because they have our faith. We know that they will represent us faithfully and do a great job. Thanks for everything, and we're watching. Stay strong, win your contract, get it all.
Thank you so much for those powerful words. We appreciate all the support, and we are so thankful to have both of you speak here tonight. I'd like us to move forward to welcome in some voice from our board of directors and another educator in our system.
Hello, my name is Derek Grandbois. I'm a third grade teacher at Hazel Wolf Cade and an SEA board member.
My name is Corrine Grandbois, and I'm a fourth grade teacher at Hazel Wolf. We are also parents of 2 Seattle Public Schools elementary age students. As both parents and teachers, we feel the strain and stress of uncertainty that this summer of pandemic has brought.
Unfortunately, SPS has caused more uncertainty with misguided plans and the cavalier way they send out draft schedules only to pull them back with a whoops. Seattle cannot afford any more missteps.
Families, students, and educators have enough on their plates. Time is up. Our communities cannot wait any longer. This needs to be settled today.
We call on Superintendent Juneau to come to the table ready to create the clarity, certainty, and be accountable to Seattle's families by finishing the MOA with educators so we can start school prepared.
I'd like to welcome in our bargaining team members who are here to give updates and get us all connected to the bargaining table. Please open your cameras and unmute. We're so happy to have you here. Fantastic. Amazing to see everyone, SEA strong. I am looking for a few other members, but they may be at the bargaining table right now in discussions. I will thank you guys for being here. Len, I wonder if you would like to get us started. Please just speak your heart, speak about where we are in this conversation and to those people that you represent, because I know members are really eager to hear from you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Len Hill. I am a bargaining team member. I'm a member of the SCA board and a member of the WEA board executives as well. During this bargain, our union has taken many steps to ensure that not only the voices of our staff have been heard, but we've taken into consideration the voices of our students and our community members. It is very important for our bargaining team members to understand exactly how our current situation with the COVID pandemic is impacting not only how we deliver services to students and families, but also taking care of what that will look like as we transition through the year. Specifically, we've made suggestions, proposals to the district regarding specific steps on how to outline in detail all the things that we need to do that we think would make us be successful for students this year. And at this point, we are still working with navigating some of their challenges and responding to our needs. But we are hopeful that we will push forward and that we will succeed in making sure that we meet the needs of all of our students and families and all of our staff wall to wall, from CERTs to paras to STAOPs, even to those that are not within our bargaining work group, to ensure that we all come back safely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Len. Incredible words. Mahmoud, would you like to speak a little bit into the space for us?
Good evening, everybody. Mahmoud Gaita, paraeducator, bilingual instructional assistant, also in the ELL team. I've been part of this bargaining team this summer for the first time of my life, and bargaining all summer with these great, intelligent, humble educators who put the safety of their community, our community, students, educators, parents, everybody, ahead of anything else during this tough time. I am optimistic and hopeful that we will be reaching an agreement soon, but SEA will be pushing hard until we make sure that returning to in-person schools is safe to do so, and nothing before that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mish,
Hi,
would you please
Mish.
speak into the space? Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Mish Vecchio, special education teacher in Nova High School rep for the board. Yeah, one of the areas we're definitely working on is making sure that we have health and safety protocols in place for special education. And one of the things we know is that there's an overrepresentation of students of color in special education, and COVID-19 is something that disproportionately impacts students of color. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have health and safety protocols that are in place if we're going to be bringing special education students into buildings. And if we don't have scientific or data-driven or safe environments, it's not something we want to be doing. We want to make sure we're listening to staff and families, making really smart decisions, building up as best we can remote instruction, listening to our staff, listening to our families, doing everything we can to keep our students safe, building up all the instruction we can before we have to make decisions like that, protecting our students and protecting our staff.
That's why we're here. We're here asking everyone to rally together, to bring this bargain to a close, to insist that Seattle Public School leadership work with us. We all have a common interest against this virus, against racial inequity, and to create this new space of learning, really centering students' needs and families and educators working together in partnership. So thank you all for being here. I know that you are still at the table tonight, talking, debriefing, trying to figure out what tomorrow looks like. Bargaining is planned to go all the way through Saturday. So we are behind you. We encourage you the whole way. And thank you so much for being here. Sending you guys back to the table. So I want to make sure that for everyone who is here tonight, that you also have a call into this work. I want to explain that for the past 3 weeks, I've been helping to organize, and with the support of an incredible team of educators at SEA, we have been collectively working to really send out the message of our stories, and we invite you to do the same. Speaking your story directly to Superintendent Juneau and SPS leadership has been the thing that we know is creating changes and shifts at the bargaining table. Welcome to Mothering and Parenting at Home. Thank you for your grace. I wanted to explain that as you are out in the world on social media and in different spaces, hashtags to use to connect all of our voices into this story are hashtag health and safe schools and hashtag SEA strong. We'd like for the public, for the community, for fellow educators, fellow union supporters, to speak their story, because we all are here in this together. Our proposals, again, set criteria for health standards. They outline the PPE gear we need, and it requires transparency so that this process of figuring out how we work through this all and have robust remote instruction and make strong choices about our health and safety, we all need that transparency and to be on the same page. So please take a moment, pick up your phone, on social media, look for these hashtags, write in your story, and connect us all to really show what a collective force means around changing our public education system. I'll give everyone just a moment to read and to pick up your phones and engage in this conversation. We're so thankful for you being here tonight. Again, to better understand this space and to better understand this conversation as a whole, I'd like to call in the voice of a parent. Please welcome Marina Gray. Video, please.
Hi, I'm Marina Gray, and I'm a mother of 3 boys who have attended Seattle Public Schools. Their experiences have spanned over 15 years in the district, and they have all shared stories with me of the harm they've endured in this racist system. In this pandemic, much has come to light about the depths of that harm. Many of our families of color are not necessarily interested in returning to our schools online or in person at this time because their students actually feel safer at home. Our current system is traumatic to many students of color, and there's been much more clarity about this truth, which has come into sharp focus while we've been outside of our school buildings. We need to be creative and center our BIPOC community needs in this time to give us something that we actually want to return to. We also need to create more opportunities for our students for relationships, agency, and discourse, and leverage our trusted partnerships with community-based organizations that know our families and our kids. We need to ensure we make necessary resources readily available to our families to ensure our students have what they need to learn. To this end, we need to invest in family support workers or similar dedicated staff for every building to engage our communities and find out what barriers exist for our students to accessing their learning. Lastly, I believe we need to invest more deeply in mental health and counseling service for our students at this time. While this virus is a health crisis that we're responding to right now, the more critical and longer term pandemic we should be responding to, I believe, is the racial and mental health one. If not now, in this moment of reckoning, then when? Thank you for your time.
Next video, please.
Hello, I'm Davina Diaz, and I'm a member of the SCA Board of Directors. And for over 10 years, I've been a dedicated special education instructional assistant at Lowell Elementary for Seattle Public Schools. I'd like to take a few moments to express what the Seattle Education Association represents to me. For me, SCA Strong means that we will fight on all fronts for the safety of our students and for all educators. Our staff and students deserve healthy and safe schools because our lives are at stake. And that stake is too high for us to be used as experiments. I know my union is fighting for family engagement, technology for all, health and safety, and a stepped-in instructional plan which demonstrates accountability and certainty that online learning will be equitable and high quality. Superintendent Juneau, nobody wants to see students back in the classroom more than educators. But when it comes to their safety and the safety of my educator colleagues, I am not ready to take any option off the table. Please consider our agreement that prioritizes community health, safety, and equity for all students and staff members at Seattle Public Schools. Thank you.
Powerful words. I appreciate all of this voice. And I'd like to call in our next speaker. Please welcome Jane Hopkins, RN for SEIU 1199 MW, Executive Vice President. Thank you so much for being here and bringing your voice.
Thank you so much. I will get myself, I'm trying to get myself on video, but my name is Jane Hopkins, Executive Vice President of SCIU 1199 Northwest, and we are 32,000 strong, healthcare workers strong in Washington State and Montana. When the pandemic started, these have been really hard times for everyone, really hard times. But our healthcare workers rely on educators so that when they go to work, they feel safe, that the kids are being looked after. it is so important that you know that we support you in your fight. What management doesn't understand is that parents look to you teachers. When you tell them it's safe to send their kids to school, they will feel safe going to work. As healthcare workers, we're already dealing with a pandemic, putting our lives at risk every single day. We don't want to be worrying about what's going to happen, what's happening to our kids when when they stay home or when they go to school. You have our support. It is important that management sees that they have to use evidence-based practice to be able to come up with plans to keep you safe and to keep the kids safe, to keep our community safe. Evidence-based practice is what's going to keep everybody safe. They need to understand that your voice in making the plans of what's going to keep you safe, what's going to keep the children safe, what's going to keep our community safe is integral in having a successful plan to have kids return back to school. They have to be able to understand that you understand the children that you look after. You understand the children that you teach. You understand the circumstances that they have at home, that they have to look at whatever policies that come in here through the racial justice lens, that they cannot be leaving children at home that need help to be able to continue to do their education without giving them the resources that's needed. The correct PPE is so important because we need to keep people safe so that they don't take illnesses home to your families, to their kids, to their grandparents. So I'm here to tell you that we support you, and anything that you need for us to get you to where you need to be at the end to feel safe so that you can take care of our children. We're here to give that support. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to talk today.
Thank you so much. We so value how much is being done in the medical community, and we know what that means as educators to be on the ground, in direct communication, working towards being the best trusting partnerships with families. And we know that responsibility. So we so appreciate you standing with us. We know you're in the thick of it. Thank you. I'd like to call in our Teamster from 174, Abraham Taylor. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing your support. And I welcome you into the conversation and onto the screen.
I cannot start my video, but I will say this. Good evening, everybody. I'm Abraham Taylor. I'm a business agent from Teamsters 174. I'd like to thank UT for setting this up. I represent the school bus drivers for the city of Seattle. When our drivers were on strike in 2018, the teachers were in support in a way that was something in solidarity I have never seen. And as a result of it, we were able to get health care and retirement for those drivers. I'm here today to pledge to all of you that you have the Teamsters standing behind you as you fight for your health and safety of the community that you represent. I'd like to echo what the lady said behind me. We trust our teachers. We've been having our own fights with the school district and with the state when it comes to protecting our bus drivers. This pandemic has been an incredible challenge and a burden on all of us. But if we keep sticking together, like we always have, we stand with you, we stand in solidarity, and I know we can come out of this thing with our heads held high, and workers are what built this country, and we will prevail. So I support you, the team supports you. Anything I can ever do, I'm a phone call away. The Teamsters are a phone call away. Thank you, you two, for what you're doing. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for those words. Any educator knows that it makes such a difference to have our bus drivers standing in solidarity with us.
See, now my video starts, and I got all your I got all your teachers behind us.
Yes, I love it. See,
Yeah.
There's such an incredible connection we all have to serving families, to serving students, to making sure that education becomes what their hopes and dreams are. And this fight is so important. Thank you so much, Abraham, for being here.
You have our support 100%.
Right on.
Thank you.
So I would like to transition us to our next speaker, Manuela Style, who's the president of the SCPTSA. I know you have heard her words come across many different platforms. We have gotten a video from her message, and that comes next. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Manuela Slye. I'm president of Seattle Council PTSA. I'm here today to support the safe and equitable return to schools. We want our students to be safe, we want our teachers to be safe, and we want to make sure that everybody is ready to learn. In order to do that, we need to make sure that everybody has everything they need, from technology, access, internet, and connection to their teachers and peers. We want to also make sure that teachers and administrators are properly trained, not only in platforms to teach students remotely, but also on anti-bias, anti-Blackness, and racial equity. We want to make sure that we're going back to a place that is better than what we left before the pandemic. We want to take this opportunity to fix what was broken. We want to make sure that students furthest from educational justice can be safe and happy to return to learning. Students receiving special education services, ELL students, students experiencing homelessness or food insecurity, we all need to make sure that those students are safe, as well as focusing on African American males as we follow the strategic plan, Seattle Excellence. So thank you very much. I believe that together we can move forward, do good work, but we need everybody's contribution. So the union, the board, and the district, please make sure that you center all the voices of students and families in Seattle Public Schools. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Superintendent Juneau, we need you to direct your team to wrap up this bargain. Educators like myself need the certainty of detailed health and safety plans. Our students and their families need that certainty too. It's not enough to say that the district will follow public health guidelines. I need to know the steps that will take us from teaching and learning 100% remotely toward resuming 100% in-person work. I am a child of Seattle schools. My children went to Seattle schools. They were both served by special education teachers. Teachers like me. Teaching special education is my second career. It's where my heart is. I want to see all of my students in person again. I've worked with some of them since they were in first grade, and they're entering sixth grade now. I miss them, but it is unacceptable to try to require me to teach remotely in a building with 70 other staff. I taught from the safety of my home all spring. I can, and I will do it again. I am at high risk for contracting COVID-19 because of arthritis medication that compromises my immune system. Should I go off that medication so that I can feel safer in our school building and trust that it's good enough that the district will follow public health guidelines? That means I will need to pull out my cane because I will go back to having limited mobility and daily pain. Or should I stay on my medication and take a leave of absence that is limited to 12 weeks and let a substitute teach my students who won't receive training in teaching remotely? These aren't choices that I should be facing or anyone else. My students should have access to a teacher
who has established relationships with them and their families, someone who knows and cares for them. All of our students need access to teachers who feel safe and supported. This pandemic is traumatizing. The systemic inequities that our Black and Brown students and families face every day have already created chronic exposure to trauma. You know this. We have been working to know better and do better. Superintendent Juneau, you have high expectations for educators across this district. You expect excellence in teaching. Right now, you are not meeting my expectations. I expect my employer to take my health and safety seriously. I expect you to take the health and safety of my students seriously. Superintendent Juneau, I need you to do better. Tell your team to finish this bargain.
It's so important that we make sure that we are protecting those most vulnerable in our system and making sure that we stand up and stand up loud for those marginalized voices. I want to welcome Larry Delaney. Thank you so much for being here. WEA President, your words unite us in a bigger sense, and I can't wait to hear just some of your thoughts. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Yudi. Appreciate that. And I just want to make sure before I start, give a shout out to the community that has come together here tonight. From Jerusalem and Krista, two students at Nathan Hale High School. Go Raiders! My first job in public education was at Nathan Hale, so it maintains a warm spot in my heart. But from the families, our brothers and sisters in the labor community, MLK Central Labor Council, SEIU 1199, Teamsters 174. And it shows the totality of the effort that it's going to take to bring our students back, bring educators back to a situation where there's going to be good quality education, but it has to be safe. And that's what we're here about tonight. From the onset last spring of this pandemic, WEA has maintained that the health and safety of educators, our students, our families and communities is priority number one. And that has not changed over the last, 5 months, I guess it's been. Please know, and I think Nicole Grant hit the nail on the head when she said, that this is really an opportunity where the community needs to come together. This has to be all hands on deck. And we're looking at 2 weeks to go. So Superintendent Juneau, there's going to be an agreement reached. And that agreement is going to be virtually the same, whether it's tonight or whether it's a week from now. So let's get this done. Let's make sure that we can at least create an environment where educators, students, families, and the community understand what a return to teaching and learning is going to look like. They understand what those transitions are going to be. Relieve some of the stress and anxiety that everyone is feeling right now. And we heard that from our students. We heard that from parents. And we know that educators are feeling that as well. And lastly, to SEA members and the other brothers and sisters who work for the Seattle Public Schools, this has to be a situation where we have all educators, and by educators, we're talking ESPs, para-educators, bus drivers, food service workers coming together to serve and meet the needs of our students. I've not seen a single return to teaching and learning plan that requires fewer employees. They all require more, so let's ensure that any plan to return to teaching and learning utilizes all of the educators in the Seattle Public Schools. Know, SEA members, that WEA has your back. We are working hard to ensure with the state and county departments of health and OSPI, the governor's office, with legislators, that we're going to continue to do right by students, right by educators, and right by our communities. And that's my pledge for you tonight. That nothing is going to change that. Good luck to you all. Know that WEA has your back, and we stand in solidarity.
Amazing. We appreciate it. We are We are fighting for our center, for our community, for our lives in this moment in time. There's so much to unpack in this historical moment. To give a little bit of breath for myself in helping support and facilitate this, I thank you so much. I have a daughter with a heart condition who in this moment is high risk, and in the spring, it didn't seem that way. And so as things change, as things go, it feels incredibly supportive to know that you guys are fighting with us for a standard that protects us all as a community and doesn't just rely on the changing times, but has us working together towards the same goal based on science, based on data, and following and working with our larger community to ensure that when we walk into any space and as we connect with families, we're giving them accurate information and really maintaining and growing that trusting space in our community. I'd like to welcome everyone back on camera. I'm thrilled at how we have been able to all come together. For anyone who doesn't know, this was a 3-day planning effort. So what it means to come into community this way is so incredibly supportive. We have some amazing tech support. I just want to thank Hannah Grather. Thank you so much for all that you've been done in this work to get this organized and together. There were some people who weren't able to be here. I just want to thank Jason Powell, the Vice President of Business Agent for Teamsters, Local 763, who also throws their weight and support towards this effort behind us. It's been amazing to see everyone and to hear your words. And I know it means so much, not just to us as educators, but also to us as educators in this community. We all stand together and we all really, really want to get school started. So thank you for putting on this pressure. Thank you for expecting more of our district. Thank you for reimagining education with us all. We really support you mutually, and showing up today means a lot. So I'm going to close out with the last words from our bargaining team. Thank you all for being here. Lots of snaps, lots of waves. Please stay for the whole video. The words of our bargaining members are amazing. Thank you, guys.
It'd be an honor to start off from my space here in Beacon. So just being on the team has really opened my eyes to how much our union really does fight on the ground, full force all day for things this time like your health and safety. We are your union fighting for that. That is of utmost importance, and that's not just health physically. We're fighting for your safety emotionally as well, and looking to really lift the social emotional learning for not just students but for us as well. And we are fighting to remove, doing our best with what we have to increase family engagement and remove barriers that prevent us as a system to really tap into those assets in our community and to really listen, especially to our families of color. So we just wanted to let you know that that fight is happening. It's not always evident right away, and we are trying to do our best for you.
So Stan Strassner, president of the sub-association, and the Seattle Education Association fights for substitutes. The district needs to invest in substitutes because who's going to fill in for educators during this global pandemic? And substitutes need professional development just like all other educators, and they need to be properly compensated for it. We're still fighting for that as of this recording. Also substitutes, during the spring, whenever schools closed, they were underutilized. And we're fighting right now for substitutes to have guaranteed positions, guaranteed work during this school closure because for remote learning, because it's a really uncertain time, and a lot of substitutes, they were on unemployment, pushed onto unemployment, relying on the federal government during the spring. So yeah, so we need to still fight for substitutes. We need to fight to make sure that subs have proper health care, that SEB requirements are adjusted for the the 2019-2020 school closure, so that subs can qualify for their health care. So yeah, and substitutes, just like all other educators, need those health and safety protocols. We need agreed upon health and safety protocols. So we need that for educators, for students, for families. These are we need it for the schools that Seattle deserves. Thanks.
I'm Erin. I'm an occupational therapist within the special education department, and I'm a rep for the occupational therapy and physical therapy department. So we are really centering the student learning needs and the family's needs when we talk about any education opportunities, whether that is online and remote, or potentially if a student wants or needs in-person services. And we're also asking that the district really center our families who need the most support during this time, and offer them the services that they need, whether that be support with access to tech that lets them learn online, or whether that is more experience with educators that they need to build one-on-one relationships with, so they can feel safe during remote learning. So yeah.
I'm Peter Henry. I'm Vice President of the Seattle Substitutes Association. I am a substitute teacher. And I gotta say that this has been about the most grueling bargaining session that I can remember, and I've been involved. This is the third time that I've been involved in it. It's just been a slog, because I think that the district's scared, and so they're not very willing to think beyond the box, and all they see is dollar signs, and they are afraid of running out of money. And so that makes it difficult for all of us. It makes it difficult for the employees, and it throws the district in the corner because they can't respond in reasonable ways. So you've heard from Stan. There's certain things that the subs are still fighting for. We're fighting for jobs, primarily. We're fighting for access to professional development. And we're fighting to be considered as part of all Seattle employees should have access to racial equity training. That's all, not some.
Yeah, Edmund Trine, and I'm from Roosevelt High School. This bargain is really different because we're not negotiating compensation or benefits or things like that. What this bargain is really about is safe, healthy, equitable teaching and learning conditions, and shifting the conversation about investment in those things. We know that the district historically has a institutional perspective that involves things like being cost neutral, that involves things like maintaining operations the way they've been because those processes are difficult to change, that involves not wanting to bargain over certain issues. Our mission, this bargain, really has come from what we heard from our members, what we heard from families, and just what we've heard from our school communities about the needs that they have to be safe, to feel supported, and to even access school in a remote setting.
Okay, as everyone else has said, it's really been an honor being part of this bargaining community, bargaining team. I am a teacher at Arbor Heights here in West Seattle, in elementary school. So in following up what Edmund had said, is that gen ed teacher, this has been a really completely different experience than my past experience with bargaining, because our framework is a little bit more around that bargaining for the common good. We are recognizing that students and teachers really need that healthy, safe learning environment. It's completely different than what we typically think of, but we still have to keep safety in our forefront, because if students and teachers and parents don't feel safe, who's going to learn? We need that really, really thoughtful, well planned out environment, whether it's online or the rare opportunities for students to come into the buildings. As we look down the line this year, it's very important everyone feels safe, otherwise learning is just not going to happen.
My name is Lynn. I am a school nurse.
I have the privilege and honor of being able to work at Interagency Academy. And I think I'm going to take a little different spin on things. I'm tired. I'm not going to lie. I'm tired, but I'm a good tired. And that good tired comes from knowing that we have dedicated our entire summer to trying to ensure that we are operating in the best interest of all of you. And I know that there are some of y'all out here, and I can say, you guys don't know me. You may or may not know me, but I got to keep it real. I know that there are some of you out there questioning what it is that we're doing. There are some of you that may feel that this is taking far too long. But just like a good loaf of bread, you got to allow that yeast to work and rise, right? You do it too quickly, you won't come out with the best product. And that's what it is we're trying to do. We're trying to achieve the best product possible for you and for, like everyone has said, for our students, for our community. It's because you guys, we know this, right? How is it that you determine who comes in first? It's almost like sending a dove into the mine, right? To see, is it okay? And when you have to be very careful about what it is that you do, right? Who is it then is the ones that go in without having all the protocols in place that ensures that the environment that you're working is going to be safe. I'm not saying anything about the district because you know what? There are people just like you and I. They are down there having to work every day and maybe in sometimes less than ideal environments because they don't have the strength of a union behind them. We're positioned differently. We have the opportunity to speak as a collective in order to try and ensure that what we do for us will trickle down. So even though it is for us and our members, it's going to make a better place for everyone who works. Because then the people will have to ask, well, whoa, why is it that this is being done over here? Don't I matter too? Aren't I important? Aren't my working conditions important? I just ask you that you be patient with us. I started off by saying I'm tired, and I am. If this could have been done 2 weeks ago, I thought I was going to be done with this in July. True that, right? I might not have even done this if I had known it was going to go this long, for real, for real. And I'm still laboring, and we're even more intensely so now. So I'm asking all y'all to give us some grace. First of all, give us some grace. Trust that we are in fact laboring for the very best that we can possibly get for you, as well as for us. What we do for one is actually going to impact us all. I don't even need to talk about the health and safety because you guys have heard that already. That is the pillar on which we are standing. Safety first. Safety first. Just like you said in that joke, you guys may have seen that thing in the news, I don't know, about a month ago with a young person who was on his way to taking his last breath as a result of having gone to a COVID party and looked up at the nurse a couple minutes before he died to say, I thought this wasn't real. This is for real, right? That's why it's taking as long as it does. It is taking, because this is for real. Holla.